Welcome in, everybody. Happy Friday. It's Freaky Friday here, and I'm Andrew. I have Jeff with me. We're going to talk some NHL today, also look at some college basketball future bets as it's now March 1st. The calendar is turned. The leap day is behind us, so look forward to breaking down some of these games. Only a few games in the NHL. We'll touch on a few on the Saturday board, but Jeff, happy Friday. Good to see you.
Great to see you. I'm playing back our show last night in my head right now, and right away it was looking like the Bruins were heading to another overtime game, and they were able to, stop the bleeding there. And the one game that I talked to you about that just blew my mind, and we knew something was up. And great clip from our guys on your breakdown of the Red Wings and Islanders. And sure enough, the Islanders not only team total cash, but ended up winning that game 5-3. NHL, I was listening to a few experts talk about it. It's that time of year where teams are starting to get in the rhythm. You're really starting to see the playoff push, and you're seeing some other teams almost like fold the tent. So super excited, and obviously blessed and honored to be a part of, Freaky Friday with you.
I like throwing those names out there, and Friday is always so interesting in the NHL. And some teams, we've got two decent sized favorites tonight, specifically the New Jersey Devils, but a team that most certainly won't be taking their matchup lightly, because every single game means something to them as far as the points are concerned. And you mentioned that Islanders game. I got to tip my hat to you. Great call by you. We're looking for that plus money. I didn't end up getting to the window with clients on the Bruins, but I did tweet that one out, mention it on the show here, the team total. And as you mentioned, look, there's no way I'm taking a regulation bet on this Bruins team right now with how many of their games are even sniffing overtime, getting close to that. I can't be doing it. But Jeff, this Arizona team, they're one loss away from tying their most consecutive losses in franchise history. It's been a real rough road for them. They lose to Montreal. That was probably their most winnable game, as much as it pains me to say. They put forward a good effort against the Leafs, lose that one. And now they're battling an Ottawa team that lost a small 2-game road trip. They're back at home. Do you see anything here that you like that sticks out to you we can make some money off of?
I was looking at the short slate, and it's funny that Ottawa is playing the same night that the Devils are playing the Ducks. And this Ottawa team, I don't want to say it's been our kryptonite. We've actually cashed a few tickets, but they stung us early this week on that team total. I couldn't get to 4. It's a game that, again, I had opening up minus 195 with a 6.5 over. Right now it's circa 177. With the 6.5 over. I don't know what I'm going to get from Arizona. I expect a sense of urgency from Ottawa. The only problem is the team total is juiced over 3.5. So I have a real hard time getting into this game. But I would be in on the Ottawa side, but they're not allowing me to get in there.
I agree. We've been talking about the plus money, how that's the best way to go with the team totals. You see the chalk. That Rangers team total I had to hit 2 days ago. You needed 2 empties, and that was a game they dominated in, and it was definitely quite a chalky play that I was on there. And we try and avoid the parlays, but even at one point today, you can get plus 110, 115 on a Devils and Sens parlay. That's down to 105 now. But as I mentioned, this Devils team off a huge victory the other day over the Sharks, but they're one of those free spaces on the bingo card, the San Jose Sharks, so nothing to write home about. But to me now, if I'm playing a game, I'm not saying every play I put out is going to be plus money. I'm not saying that, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to lay the minus 285, and even, of course, the team total isn't a good price for the Devils, so I wouldn't be opposed to playing the Senators and Devils in a little bit of a 2-teamer there, pair those 2 teams up. All day long, I've been looking at the Philadelphia game versus Washington, Metropolitan Division battle, and I thought to myself, I got to talk to Jeff about this one, because I'm like, do I like Philly? Do I like the over? Or do I like Philly team all over? What do you think about this game?
I saw last night the Capitals overnight -110. I woke up this morning and saw the big flip. One of these spreadsheets here had Philadelphia last night -120. Now -135 at Circa, a flat 6. This is the Freaky Friday upset. This is the one that I'll call I'm not buying the flip. If I had to dive in just to an individual game, believe it or not, I would gravitate to the Capitals plus the 124. I don't like it. I could see the Flyers side. I can see the team total over side. I'm just not buying the flip. It'll probably be, the Yotes that beat the Senators tonight, or somehow the Ducks beat the Devils. There is going to be a major upset tonight. And for some reason, we win against the Caps earlier this week. You're supposed to go against the Caps. You're supposed to play the Flyers tonight. I just smell Oshie, Ovi, and the Capitals finding a way tonight.
As hard as it is to look at a card and try and avoid thinking like that, it's sometimes so hard not to think which dog is going to win tonight. There's 3 games, like on the Monday, Wednesday, and Friday boards that only have like 2 to 4 games. It's so hard not to think that way. Okay, you've got 3 teams, 3 faves. Which underdog's going to hit? And you're right. Is it going to be the Coyotes? Or do the Sens keep giving up goals? Do the Coyotes finally wake up? Do the Devils keep having those defensive miscues? Or do the Capitals keep catching people off guard? And that's why overall I've kind of, because let's be real here. I think that if the Capitals win the game, I don't think they win it like 2-1. Like, would you agree that the full game over could be a play at 6, or do you think that with that flip you're going against, you think the Capitals could lock things down?
I think this could be the first 1 to 3 wins. I think this could be a 3-2 game here.
Okay. You're scaring me off the over. You're scaring me off the over here on this one. All right. One thing worth mentioning as far as a little bit of a trend, it's definitely gotten a little bit higher now. It's like 135. But Shane Pinto, I keep on mentioning him. I had a guy in my live chat earlier today say, Andrew loves this player. No, I don't love the player. I love when he makes me money. And Pinto has gone over 2.5 shots, 7 of his last 10 games. He's recorded a point in 8 of his last 13. And Jeff, I think that this guy would actually be at 3.5 plus money if he played the entire season, because he was suspended for stuff surrounded by sports gambling. So if he was there all season and hitting at this alarming rate for his shots prop, we wouldn't be seeing the 2.5. So it's one of those ones for me that until I get juiced out of it or it gets way too high and they switch it to 3.5, I got to keep looking at Pinto from the Ottawa Senators and think that he's probably going to have another good night. But I'm looking at the Metropolitan Division right now. One thing about this matchup for the Devils is that they can't afford to take any team lightly. Sometimes you beat the Sharks, you absolutely beat them up, and you go and play another team. Maybe you're feeling the fat and sassy. You're feeling good about yourself, even though you just beat a bad team. But the question really remains is that will they have this letdown spot against the Ducks if they really need every game? That's really the problem here. I kind of actually lean towards the under in the late night game. I somewhat believe if there's one team the Devils are going to be able to play good defense against, it might be the Ducks.
And my overnight number was 255. It's now 249 at Circa, as high as 275 at Bet Online. Again, this looks too easy. This is a New Jersey Devils regulation game. This is a New Jersey Devils minus a half goal first period. This is a New Jersey Devil game minus a goal and a half. You know what happens when we push all in, especially against the Devils. It never wins. So if I say to all you people watching and listening, I'm staying away from the Devils tonight, I am leaving it on the desk. That means you go out and play it because they're going to go box to wire.
Well, people get after me, Jeff, because I don't bet on the Leafs enough. And they say, Andrew, if you have your jokes with them, you can still bet on them. But the thing is that I always think I've missed the boat. I always think that, okay, I was a day late, dollar short. They had that good winning streak. They lost to Vegas, and I actually was talking about the Vegas side of home. And just the same thing they did in Arizona, covered the puck line against Arizona at home. They covered the team total. They covered the regulation. I bet you made on the Maple Leafs against the Coyotes, Jeff cashed. So that old KISS, keep it simple, stupid, that worked for the Maple Leafs against the Coyotes. And in fact, anybody that's been fading the Coyotes lately have been making money. So it's so interesting because, like you mentioned, I mean, it's like you don't play the Devils and you feel dumb when they win 5-1 tonight. You do play them and they win 3-2 in overtime. And the regulation loses, team total loses, everything loses. So it's really interesting. That's why I call it Freaky Friday, because you always see matchups like this. The only real tight one we have tonight is that game we talked about, Washington, Philadelphia, with the overnight flip. And I want to mention something because we'll move on here in a second to some hoops talk, but I had both schedules up here. So we've got the Capitals tonight playing Philadelphia. Then they play the Coyotes, Penguins, Blackhawks, Jets, Oilers, Kraken. But get this for the Flyers. They've got, obviously, the Capitals tonight, Senators, Blues, Panthers, Lightning. So besides the Sharks, every single game that's quite difficult for them coming up. So I'm not saying that must-win games, you have to bet them. But I'm a little bit interested by this because, Flyers, Capitals tonight, right? Then they've got the Senators their next game, but then it gets hard. Panthers, Lightning, Maple Leafs, Bruins. It's almost a storm is brewing. They're checking the weather forecast to see how bad it's about to get. So I don't like being head-to-head with you, Jeff. I really don't. You always get me. I don't want to be head-to-head with you.
Now, I can see your thought process again, especially when we start looking ahead. Flyers, Capitals, neither team. It was funny as the season was progressing. I'm like looking at the numbers on the Flyers, especially on the road. Is they were a nice dog to start the year, and the numbers were getting less and less. And then I see the Flyers as road favorites, and what ends up happening is I was like, holy crap! I was like, I got to look back and look at their record right now. I'm like, I didn't even realize they had that many wins at one point, and they got on a nice run. And now it's almost like team hits that plateau. They lose a couple, and now the road is ending as we're getting closer to the playoffs and the end of the regular season. Which team are going to get into that rhythm we were talking about when we started the show? And the Flyers, with the incident with Hart, what's your thought process? Are you a believer of the Flyers? I guess is my question to you.
The thing is I've kind of been a hater of the Flyers, and I woke up one day and I just smelled roses, and we'll find out if I'm too late to the party. Hopefully I didn't get there and everyone's going home. Hopefully I got there and people are still having fun, because at this point I think that the books have adjusted to the Flyers how they're playing. Would you say that? Because this matchup tonight, one team has been on a playoff spot for 3 months, and one team is nowhere near it, or not. I shouldn't know near it, but one is really about. You can hear me, but all I was saying there was that you've got, based on the price here, you think the markets are showing more respect, as you used to say to me, Jeff, about trusting the opening number, the opening line, and that tells us the books, I think, just still don't respect Philly. Is that true?
It is, but not a lot of people saw Washington minus 110 yesterday afternoon. I think the books tonight, and I could be totally wrong on this, but the books tonight are saying, hey, don't push to the window to go bet Philly. We'll open up a couple more windows for you. And I think they think it's a Washington night. And I could be totally wrong. You look up at the first period and it's 3-0 Flyers. But I did see a couple spots early yesterday afternoon having Washington minus 110. Woke up this morning and I saw nothing but Flyers minus 125, minus 130, minus 135, and it's as high as 140, 145, and actually 150 at points bet. So I smell rat tonight in that game. I really do. I left it on the desk, though, as you know, when a couple halftime college basketball games today. But I'd say buyer beware. That would just be my one token there on that game.
I'm hoping that we get some good games tonight. That's all I'm hoping, is that it's not just blowouts. We see some chalky favorites. But the team totals, like, we keep looking for that plus money. It's a big, big Saturday slate. Have you looked ahead at all to tomorrow? If not, no problem. But is there anything that you think that might stick? And I don't want to put the pressure on you, so I'll throw this to you. Rangers, Leafs, Bruins, some of those big name teams. Anything stick out to you for those big teams?
Yeah, the 12:30 start, which we crushed last week. We had the Red Wings team total over at 12:35 last Saturday. I think they scored 6, 7, 8 goals or whatever it was. They scored 4 in the first, and we cashed that in the first period. I smell a little something. Carolina only minus 145 at home against the Jets. So watch out for that one. You talked about the Rangers and the Leafs. Toronto only minus 119 at home. When are you going to see them at such a short price against the Rangers there? Bruins at the Islanders. I don't know when the last time the Islanders won 2 in a row. I would lean Bruins there. And here's a comical one. I'll end with a comedy here. Columbus favored on the road. Give me the Blackhawks plus 115. Give me Bedard and Kane. Give me Bedard and company.
I love it. When you get those teams with favorite prices like that, you have to go the other side. And after Bedard got that treatment against the Avalanche the other day, did you see those videos? He was getting slashed, hooked, and everyone was going after him. That's good. Right.
You did officially freeze, brother. Yes, I'm still here. Hopefully Andrew does come back here. If not, he has left the building. I just took out of my NHL Saturday slate as well. So I will hold the fort here and see if he does pop back here. I know he wanted to go to some college basketball futures. I will say what I have in tow, and some you can't get these numbers, obviously. They were earlier in the year. As most of you know, I am a diehard UConn Husky fan. Had them last year at 15, 18 to 1. 2 daughters, one graduated, one a sophomore there. So I have them at around 8 to 1. I also did have Purdue when they were 7.5, 8 to 1 as well. Talk about a couple bigger numbers that might still be available. We had Kentucky as high as 18 to 1. You can get them around 14, 15 to 1. Staying in the SEC, I do like a swing on Auburn at around that 15 to 1. Again, I think offensively can play with anyone. Great coach. They can play on the road or at home, so I like them as well. Talk to Andrew about Arizona, who the Final Four is in Glendale. I think they're going to struggle, but if they can muscle their way through the first weekend, find a way to get through the Sweet 16 and Elite Eight, we'll have some home cooking in Glendale to make the Final Four there. So that was that one. And I had a brain fart because I just had one more at the tip of my tongue and I lost it. So the chair
Auburn.
is. I talked about Auburn, Kentucky, Arizona. Talk about the chalk of Purdue and obviously UConn there. This is what I want to say. When looking and diving into your futures, whether it's pizza and beer money or whether you're going to really invest and dig in for a couple to have, just remember this is if you can play them to get to the Final Four, almost as a hedge bet. So if you have a couple futures and you also have them additionally to get to the Final Four, that's a bonus. You've covered the Final Four and the championship game there. And lastly, when you're doing your homework and your research, think about, do you think this team can win 6 in a row? That's what it takes to cut the Nets down on Monday. So it takes 4 to get to the 4. So the Final Four. So when you're doing that homework, do you believe in the team? Do you believe in the coach? Do you have strong guard play? Are you a home dominant team where most of these games are going to be played on the road? I talked about UConn, Andrew. UConn will not have to jump on a plane until they get to Arizona. Their first 2 games are scheduled to be at the Barclays Center in New Jersey, and then the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight are right behind me, right there at TD Garden. So they'll be playing there. So there's a lot that goes into it. You can follow who you want. You can watch the podcasts, John Rothstein, Andy Katz. You can, whoever is putting money in your pocket. There are a lot that goes into it. But there's just a couple of pointers when you froze out.
I really appreciate you having my back as always. I'm not sure what's going on, but of course, here we are nearing the end of the show, and my internet seems to be going perfect now. That's how life always works. But I appreciate you for tipping me in the right direction for some of these futures. As you know, it's a daily grind with college basketball and March Madness. And I will just say for everybody watching, from myself as someone that's not releasing as much, and if you want a lot of great college basketball picks, you should be following along with Jeff. But I like doing the futures because, as you and I have talked about, you're not stressing about a point spread every game. You're not stressing about the total. You pick a handful of teams, whether it's, the more of the favorites and more of the long shots. And I've got a handful, including Arizona, now down to 8-1, 7-1. Some shops, I got them at 20-1. So right now, I feel like going and buying some Arizona sweaters and jerseys. I'm a huge Arizona fan. That's the beauty of it, is I'm not going to make another bet on Arizona. In fact, there might be a spot where I end up betting against them to try and secure myself some money. People say hedging's for gardeners. I say hedging is for someone trying to make some money. So I have no problem with hedging. That's for sure. I'm trying to secure a profit. I can't wait for the tournament. As far as yourself and your clients and picks you're giving out in your videos, Jeff, do you see yourself changing any process as far as the regions you're betting more, conferences you're betting more? Are you still sticking with mostly team totals? Any plans down the stretch for the ECSI members?
Had some success of late in first halves. Last night we had Townsend first half. And people that don't get into first halves, again, it's more peeling back the onion. Townsend was like 11-point full game favorites, maybe 11 and a half. And they were favored by 7 or 7.5 in the first half. So that's a big telltale sign. It's usually about cut in half, might be a half point either which way on the first half sign. But when you get a 7-point first half and then only 11-point full game, that's a big sign. And they were up 20 at halftime there. There's a couple games tonight that we already released again that there was some big signs. They don't always come in like anything, but if you're hitting at least 53, 54, 55% on them, you're making money. So we like the team totals, as you know. they've been real tough. They really have. The market has been real tough. Again, I'll look at a team total versus laying 10, 11, 12 points on a spread because I don't want the backdoor three. I don't want the layup at the buzzer, the 3 free throws at the buzzer, to get that backdoor spread versus, hey, get to a certain number and it doesn't matter if you cover or lose the game. So we're still looking there. Still trying to add to our futures, trying to figure out who's going to be in what bracket, maybe to find an edge to get through to the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight or even the Final Four. So no sleep for the weary, I should say, Andrew.
I look forward to following along. Let's try and make some money tonight on the hardwood, on the ice, in the NHL, despite the short slate. And we'll have plenty of plays going out, tweeting out all kinds of content. Make sure you guys check out Jeff's YouTube channel, podcasting as well, all kinds of great stuff. Follow Jeff on Twitter as well at EC Sports Invest. And not just hockey talk, not just NBA talk, not just NCAA. We've got lacrosse, everything. You're talking all kinds of sports, golf as well. I saw you send out some golf plays, so you're doing it all. So let people know what they can expect from you, Jeff, and then we'll throw things out. We'll wrap things up.
Yeah, and I think you got it all started years ago when we started with the CFL. I'm like, no one's covering CFL. We had done some hockey shows together, and I'm like, well, let's parlay this into the CFL, and we haven't stopped in the CFL. We do the World Juniors, and then so when I went from there, we've had our second season now, Tea Time Wagers with Brady Cannon, who's on Sports Grid and works for the PGA. Dan Alexander, a colleague of yours at Wager Talk, we're looking to start our second or third season in Premier Lacrosse. So we like the niche sports. I mean, we cover all the major sports, don't get me wrong. But when people aren't covering certain smaller sports that are available on your sports books where the market's not as sharp and it's, I don't want to say easier, but it's softer and easier to find an edge than it is in an NFL game that's been picked through for a week. So you can go to me on Twitter at EC Sports Invest. You can check out our website at eastcoastsportsinvestors.com. We have a welcome to the ECSI family for as little as $3 a day, a gym membership, I call it. You'll get a text from us sent to your cell phone and an email on top where our breakdowns are, why we're releasing them. It's we're looking for the long term, like you and I talk about all the time. So as always, can't be happier to be a part of your wacky Friday. And we'll get back to our Tuesday, Thursday, or Thursday, Friday, whatever our schedules bring, Andrew.
Every day is a different day. So we're handicapping hockey on Friday. I always find it different to handicap than Thursday. Some people might disagree, but every day brings something different here. Friday is always a funny day to handicap on the ice. And you mentioned lacrosse. I'm actually going to a professional lacrosse game tonight. Only my third ever game I've been to. So I'm looking forward to that. A few more shows to get through here. And we'll put a wrap on this Friday. Find both of us on Twitter, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.